The bridge of the UES Defiant hummed with quiet energy as Commander Lisa Hayes stood before the main view screen. Stars stretched like diamonds across the black void, each one a possible home to friends or enemies. Lisa's brown hair was pulled, back in a neat bun, and her green eyes studied the star charts with the intensity of a hunter tracking prey. Behind her, the alien crew members worked at their stations. Velkoth, the Zephyrian tactical officer, glanced at his human commander with something close to worship in his large golden eyes. His blue-scaled hands moved across the controls with practiced ease, but his mind was elsewhere. "Officer Velkoth," Lisa said without turning around, "you seem distracted today." The Zephyrian's head fins fluttered with embarrassment. "My apologies, Commander. I was thinking about the stories." "What stories?" "The ones the enemy tells about you, ma'am. About how fleets turn and run when they learn your name. About how no one who fights you directly ever lives to tell others what happened." Lisa turned to face her tactical officer. At 32 years old, she looked younger than her rank suggested, but her eyes held the weight of countless battles. "And what do you think of these stories?" Velkoth straightened in his chair. "I think they are true, Commander. I have served with you for 2 years. I have seen what happens when humans fight. I have seen what happens when you fight." The bridge fell silent except for the soft beeping of instruments. Other crew members, a mix of humans and friendly alien species, listened to the conversation. They had all heard the stories too. Stories of the human female who turned impossible situations into victories. Stories of enemies who whispered her name in fear before they died. Lieutenant Kevin Martinez, the human communications officer, looked up from his station. "Commander, we're receiving a priority message from Federation Command." Lisa nodded. "Put it through." The view screen changed to show Admiral Robert Chen, an older human with gray hair and tired eyes. His face was serious, which meant trouble. "Commander Hayes," he began, "we have a situation. The Altarian system is under attack. 3 colonies with over 50 million civilians are being bombarded by hegemony forces." Lisa's jaw tightened. The Altarians were peaceful people who had never hurt anyone. They made beautiful art and music, but they had no weapons, no military, no way to defend themselves. "What's our response time?" she asked. "The main fleet won't reach them for 3 weeks. By then..." Admiral Chen didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what would happen. "Sir, request permission to take my task force to Altair immediately. Admiral." Chen shook his head. "Lisa, you have 12 ships. Intelligence reports say the hegemony has over 100 vessels in that system. It would be suicide." "With respect, sir, doing nothing is also suicide. For the Altarians." The Admiral looked at her for a long moment. Lisa could see the conflict in his eyes. He knew what she was capable of, but he also knew the odds. "Here, Federation Council is meeting to discuss options. Wait for orders. And if I don't wait, then you'll be acting without authorization. Your career will be over." Lisa looked around her bridge. She saw determination in every face, human and alien, alike. These people had followed her through hell before. They would do it again. "Understood, sir. Hayes out." The screen went dark. The bridge was quiet again. "Commander," Velkoth said softly, "what are your orders?" Lisa walked to her captain's chair and sat down. She thought about the Altarian children she had met during a diplomatic mission last year. They had shown her their paintings of Earth, drawn from pictures in their school books. They had asked her if all humans were as tall as she was and if Earth's sky was really blue. "Kevin, send a message to all ships in the task force. Tell them we're going to Altair. Tell them it's voluntary. Anyone who wants to stay behind can do so with no shame." "Yes, ma'am." "Velkoth, plot a course for the Altair system, maximum speed." "Course plotted, Commander." Lisa stood up and walked to the view screen again. Soon that peaceful field of stars would become a battlefield. Soon she would face enemies who outnumbered her 10 to 1. Some of her crew would not survive the next few days, but the Altarians would live. That was what mattered. "Commander," Kevin said, "all ships are reporting in. No one is staying behind." Lisa smiled. This was why she loved her crew. Humans and aliens working together, ready to die for people they barely knew simply because it was the right thing to do. "Take us out," she ordered. The stars began to move as the Defiant turned toward the Altair system. Behind them, 11 other ships followed. It was a small fleet, but it carried something the enemy didn't expect: the determination of beings who would rather die fighting than live, knowing they had failed to help innocent people. In the Altair system, Warlord Crix of the Vortan Empire stood on the bridge of his massive battleship. His gray skin was covered in the ritual scars of a warrior, and his red eyes glowed with satisfaction as he watched the bombardment of the third Altarian colony. "Warlord," his intelligence officer said, "we have reports of a Federation task force approaching the system." Crix laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "How many ships?" 12, sir, led by a human vessel called the Defiant." 12 ships against our 100? The Federation must be desperate." He turned to his weapons officer. "When they arrive, destroy them quickly. I want to finish with these colonies before the main Federation fleet arrives." "Sir," the intelligence officer continued, "the human vessel is commanded by someone called Hayes. Our files show—" "I don't care about human names," Crix interrupted. "They are all weak. They are all the same. Destroy them all." "The intelligence?" Officer closed his mouth, but his eyes showed concern. He had read the files. He knew what Hayes meant, but Warlord Crix had never fought humans before. He had never seen what they could do when they were angry. In the depths of space, 12 small ships raced toward a battle they could not win. On the bridge of the Defiant, Lisa Hayes stood ready to show the galaxy once again why enemies spoke her name only before dying. The war was about to begin. The Altair system blazed with weapon fire as Lisa's small fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 12 ships against 100 seemed like madness, but Lisa had built her reputation on turning madness into victory. "Tactical report," she ordered as alarms filled the bridge of the Defiant. Velkoth's fingers danced across his controls. 112 enemy vessels, Commander. They have us surrounded. 30 heavy cruisers, 40 destroyers, and the rest are support ships." Lisa studied the battle display. The hegemony fleet was spread across the system, bombarding the 3 Altarian colonies. Warlord Crix had made his first mistake by splitting his forces. His second mistake was underestimating humans. "Kevin, open a channel to all ships." "Channel. Open, Commander." Lisa's voice carried the calm confidence that had made her famous. "All ships, this is Hayes. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and probably going to die today. But those people down there are counting on us. We're going to give these bastards a fight they'll never forget. Hayes out." Across her small fleet, crews prepared for battle. Human and alien hands worked together, loading weapons and checking systems. They all knew the odds, but they also knew their commander. "Velkoth, target the nearest destroyer. All ships attack pattern Delta 7. "Commander," the Zephyrian said with confusion. "Delta 7 is designed for asteroid mining operations." Lisa smiled. "Exactly." The Defiant and her sister ships dove toward the nearest asteroid field. The enemy destroyer followed, confident in its superior firepower. But as they entered the floating rocks, Lisa's plan became clear. "Fire mining charges on my mark," she ordered. The mining charges were meant to break apart asteroids for easier collection. They were not military weapons, but in Lisa's hands, anything could become a weapon. The charges struck the largest asteroids, just as the enemy destroyer passed through the field. Massive chunks of rock exploded outward, turning the asteroid field into a deadly storm of debris. The destroyer's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, couldn't handle the physical impact of house-sized boulders moving at incredible speed. The hegemony ship died in seconds, crushed by rocks that had floated peacefully in space for millions of years. "One down," Lisa said calmly. 99 to go. Across the hegemony fleet, communications buzzed with confusion and anger. Warlord Crix watched the destruction of his destroyer with disbelief. "How did they do that?" he demanded. His tactical officer studied the sensor readings. "They used mining equipment, sir. They turned the asteroid field into a weapon." Crix's red eyes narrowed. Clever, but it won't work twice. All ships converge on the human fleet, crush them. But Lisa was already moving to her next target. She led her ships toward the system's twin suns, using their radiation to mask her approach. The enemy sensors couldn't track them clearly in the solar interference. "Commander," Lieutenant Susan Davis called from her engineering station, "we're picking up enemy communications. They're trying to coordinate an attack." "Let me hear it," Lisa said. The bridge speakers crackled with alien voices speaking in harsh, guttural tones, but among the words one name kept appearing: Hayes. "They're talking about you, Commander," Velkoth translated. They're saying you're the Hayes killer, the one who brings death." Lisa nodded. Fear was spreading through the enemy fleet. That was good. Fear made people make mistakes. "Kevin, I want you to broadcast something on all enemy frequencies." "What should I broadcast, Commander?" "The last transmission from the Corvin battle fleet. The one where their admiral begged for mercy before we destroyed him." Kevin's eyes widened. "That's psychological warfare, Commander. That's exactly what it is." The recording played across every enemy communication channel. The voice of Admiral Corlex, the hegemony's former greatest military leader, filled the ships of his former allies. They heard him scream as his flagship burned around him. They heard him speak Lisa's name with terror before the transmission ended in static. The effect was immediate. 3 hegemony ships broke formation and fled the system. Others hesitated, their crews whispering among themselves. "Fear is spreading," Velkoth observed. "But they still outnumber us greatly." Lisa knew he was right. Psychological warfare could only take them so far. She needed to hurt the enemy badly, and she needed to do it now. "All ships, prepare for ramming speed," she ordered. "Commander?" Kevin asked with shock. "You heard me. We're going to ram the enemy flagship." But Lisa had no intention of actually ramming anyone. As her ships accelerated toward Warlord Crix's massive battleship, she waited for the perfect moment. "Now!" she shouted. "Emergency stop and full broadside." The human ships suddenly reversed their engines and fired every weapon they had. The enemy, expecting a ramming attack, had not raised their shields properly. 12 ships' worth of weapons fire struck the battleship's exposed hull. The damage was terrible, but not enough to destroy such a massive vessel. However, it was enough to send a message. The great warlord Crix, terror of the outer systems, had been hurt by a tiny human fleet. "Status report," Lisa demanded as her ships scattered to avoid return fire. "Light damage to 3 ships, Susan reported. No casualties." "Enemy flagship is heavily damaged," Velkoth added. "They're falling back to repair." Lisa allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. They had blooded the enemy's nose, but the real fight was just beginning. "Commander," Kevin called out urgently. "Enemy boarding shuttles are approaching. They're targeting us directly." Through the view screen, Lisa could see the small craft racing toward her ship. Dozens of them, filled with hegemony assault troops. They wanted to capture her alive to parade the famous Hayes before their people as a trophy. "Let them come," she said quietly. "Velkoth, prepare the ship for boarding. Internal defenses online." "Commander, shouldn't we try to escape?" Lisa walked to the weapons locker and pulled out her personal sidearm. "No. I've been fighting these bastards from space for too long. Time to show them what humans can do up close." The first enemy shuttles clamped onto the Defiant's hull. Cutting torches began burning through the armor. In minutes, alien soldiers would pour into her ship. Lisa checked her weapon and smiled. The galaxy was about to learn why enemies only spoke her name before dying. The hull of the Defiant shuddered as the enemy cutting torches finished their work. Lisa stood in the main corridor, weapon ready, as the first piece of metal fell to the deck with a loud clang. Behind her, the human crew members took positions, at key points throughout the ship. "Remember," Lisa said into her communicator, "this is our ship. We know every corner, every hiding place. Make them pay for every step." The first alien soldier dropped through the hole in the hull. He was a Vortan, gray-skinned and muscular, carrying a heavy plasma rifle. His red eyes scanned the corridor, looking for targets. Lisa shot him before he could take a second step. More soldiers poured through the opening, but they found themselves in a maze of death. Lisa had spent months modifying her ship for exactly this situation. Hidden weapons popped out of walls. Blast doors slammed shut at unexpected moments, separating enemy groups. The gravity shifted without warning, sending soldiers floating helplessly through the air. "Where is the human commander?" one alien shouted in broken Federation standard. "Here," Lisa said from behind him. The soldier spun around just as Lisa's blade found his throat. She had learned knife fighting from a dozen different species, taking the best techniques from each. The Vortan warrior fell without making another sound. The battle raged through the corridors of the Defiant. Lisa moved like a ghost, appearing where the enemy least expected her. She used the ship's own systems as weapons, venting atmosphere to blow soldiers off their feet, or flooding sections with sleeping gas from the medical bay. In one section, she trapped 6 enemy soldiers in the cargo bay and then opened the outer doors. The aliens were sucked out into space, their screams lost in the vacuum. "Commander Hayes," came Kevin's voice over the intercom. "We have a problem. The enemy commander is on board. He's heading for the bridge with a full squad." Lisa wiped alien blood from her knife and started moving toward the bridge. "Which commander? Warlord?" "Crix himself, ma'am." Lisa smiled grimly. The alien leader had come to capture her personally. That was good. It meant she could kill him personally, too. She reached the bridge just as Crix and his warriors broke through the main doors. The warlord was even larger than she had expected, nearly 8 feet tall with arms like tree trunks. Scars covered his gray skin, and his red eyes burned with hatred. "So," he said in perfect Federation standard, "you are the famous Hayes. You are smaller than I expected." "I get that a lot," Lisa replied, raising her weapon. Crix laughed. "You cannot win, human. Your ship is taken. Your fleet is destroyed. Surrender now, and I will make your death quick." Lisa looked around the bridge. Velkoth and the other crew members were fighting desperately against Crix's warriors. The tactical officer's blue scales were marked with cuts, but he kept fighting. "Counteroffer," Lisa said. "You leave my ship right now and I won't have to kill you." The warlord's laugh died in his throat. "You think you can defeat me? I have killed hundreds of enemies with my bare hands." "Yeah, well, I've killed hundreds with weapons. Let's see which works better." Lisa opened fire, but Crix was faster than his size suggested. He rolled behind a console as plasma bolts scorched the air where he had been standing. His warriors spread out, trying to surround her. The bridge became a battlefield. Lisa used every trick she had learned in 20 years of fighting. She slid under console banks, bounced off walls, and turned the bridge's own equipment into weapons. When one alien got too close, she grabbed a broken piece of metal and drove it through his chest. "You fight like an animal," Crix snarled as he tried to corner her. "Thanks," Lisa replied, shooting another warrior. "I'll take that as a compliment." The battle turned when Velkoth managed to activate the ship's internal defenses. Automated weapons dropped from the ceiling and began targeting the invaders. The Zephyrian officer was bleeding badly, but he was still fighting. "Commander," he called out. "The automated systems are active. They will target anyone not wearing a Federation uniform." Lisa grinned. "Perfect timing, old friend." The automated weapons opened fire on the alien warriors. They had been designed to repel boarders, and they did their job well. Within seconds, only Warlord Crix remained alive on the bridge. The alien commander looked around at his dead warriors, then back at Lisa. For the first time, she saw something new in his red eyes. Fear. "Now it's just you and me," Lisa said, walking toward him. Crix pulled out a massive energy sword, its blade crackling with power. "I will not be defeated by a human female." "You already have been," Lisa replied. The two commanders circled each other on the damaged bridge. Crix was stronger and had longer reach, but Lisa was faster and smarter. When he swung his sword, she wasn't there. When she attacked, he barely managed to block. "You cannot win," Crix panted after several minutes of fighting. "Even if you kill me, my fleet will destroy this system. Your fleet is already running, Lisa said, dodging another swing. Didn't you notice? Fear spreads fast among cowards. Crix's eyes widened as he realized she was right. Through the bridge windows he could see his own ships beginning to retreat. The psychological warfare had worked. His troops were so afraid of the human commander that they were abandoning the battle. No, he whispered. This cannot be. This is what happens when you attack innocent people, Lisa said. This is what happens when you underestimate humans. She moved forward for the killing blow, but Crix managed one last desperate attack. His energy sword grazed her shoulder, sending pain shooting through her body, but Lisa ignored the pain and drove her knife up through his ribs and into his heart. Warlord Crix, terror of the outer systems, fell to his knees and then to the deck. His red eyes stared at nothing. Commander, Velkoth said weakly from his position at the tactical station, the enemy fleet is retreating. We've won. Lisa looked around the damaged bridge. Half her crew was wounded or dead. Her ship was barely holding together, but the Altarian colonies were safe. Kevin, send a message to the colonies. Tell them they're safe now. Yes, ma'am. Lisa walked to the main view screen and watched the enemy ships flee into hyperspace. Another victory, another legend added to her name. But each victory cost more than the last. Soon, the galaxy would know that Warlord Crix had spoken her name before, dying, just like all the others. 6 months after the battle at Altair, Admiral Lisa Hayes stood in her new office aboard the Federation command station. Through the large window she could see dozens of ships from the Rapid Response Fleet, all under her command. The promotion had come with more responsibility, but also more problems. Her door chimed and she looked up to see Admiral Chen entering. His face was serious, which had become his normal expression when dealing with Lisa. We need to talk, he said, closing the door behind him. About what this time? Lisa asked, not looking up from her reports. About the fact that 3 more alien species have joined the hegemony specifically to fight against you. About the fact that some Federation members are getting nervous about human tactics. About the fact that you're becoming more famous than the entire Federation Council. Lisa finally looked up. And some people think you're becoming a problem. Lisa stood and walked to the window. In the distance, she could see construction ships working on new vessels. The Federation was building more ships because of the threats her actions had created. Do you think I'm a problem, Robert? Admiral, Chen was quiet for a moment. I think you're the best military commander I've ever seen. I also think you scare people, even our own people. Good, Lisa said simply. Fear keeps enemies away. Fear saves lives. Chen joined her at the window. But what happens when the fear isn't enough? What happens when they decide the only way to stop being afraid is to kill you? Lisa was about to answer when Lieutenant Kevin Martinez burst through the door. His face was pale with worry. Admiral, we have an emergency. We've lost contact with Captain Ryan Hayes and his reconnaissance team. Lisa felt her blood turn cold. Ryan was her younger brother, one of the few family members she had left. Where was he last seen? The Terminus sector. Intelligence believes the hegemony is building something there, but we don't know what. Lisa turned to Admiral Chen. I'm taking the fleet to find him. Absolutely not, Chen said firmly. It's obviously a trap. They took your brother to draw you out. I know it's a trap. Then you know you can't go. Lisa looked at him with the same cold expression that had made enemies flee across the galaxy. Robert, with all due respect, try to stop me. Admiral Chen knew that look. He had seen it before every impossible victory Lisa had achieved. Lisa, please, think about this. If they kill you, who's going to protect the Federation? If I don't protect my own family, what kind of person am I? 3 hours later, Lisa's fleet was moving toward the Terminus sector. Every ship in the Rapid Response Fleet had volunteered to follow her, even though they knew it was suicide. Word had spread through the Federation about what was happening. Some called Lisa a hero for trying to save her brother. Others called her a fool for walking into an obvious trap. The Terminus sector was at the edge of known space where ancient stars died in darkness. As Lisa's ships approached, they found something that made everyone stop and stare. "Admiral," Velkoth said, from his tactical station, "sensors are showing a massive artificial structure. It's the size of a small moon." On the main screen appeared Terminus Prime, the hegemony's ultimate weapon. It was a fortress world covered in weapons, with enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Around it floated the largest enemy fleet Lisa had ever seen. "How many ships?" she asked. "Over 300, Admiral, and they're all waiting for us." Lisa studied the tactical display. 300 ships against her 60. Those were bad odds, even for her. But somewhere on that fortress was her brother, and she wasn't leaving without him. "Open a channel to the enemy fortress," she ordered. The main screen changed to show a figure that made Lisa's jaw tighten. It was Warlord Crix, very much alive, despite the knife wound she had given him months ago. "Surprised to see me, Hayes?" he asked with a cruel smile. "Your blade missed my heart by inches. I have been looking forward to returning the favor. Let my brother go, and I'll consider letting you live." Crix laughed. "You are in no position to make demands. Surrender now and I will kill him quickly. Refuse and I will make him suffer for days." "Counteroffer," Lisa said calmly. "Go to hell." The screen went dark. Lisa turned to her crew. "All right, people. We all know this is probably our last battle. The enemy has us outnumbered 5-1, and they have the biggest weapon anyone has ever built. But they made one mistake." "What's that, Admiral?" Kevin asked. "They think numbers matter more than heart. They think weapons matter more than determination. They think fear matters more than love." Lisa looked around the bridge at faces she had come to know like family. They're about to learn why they're wrong. The battle for Terminus Prime began with Lisa doing what she did best: the impossible. Instead of attacking the fortress directly, she led her fleet in a spiral pattern around it, using the artificial gravity to slingshot her ships at incredible speeds. Enemy weapons fired constantly, but Lisa's ships were moving too fast and too unpredictably to hit. She was buying time, looking for a weakness in the fortress's defenses. "Admiral," Velkoth called out, "I'm detecting an exhaust port near the fortress's power core. It's only 2 meters wide, but if we could get a torpedo through it—" "Do it," Lisa ordered. But as her ships moved into position, the enemy fleet closed in. Plasma fire filled space around them. One by one, Lisa's ships began to fall. The cruiser Valiant exploded in a ball of fire. The destroyer Hope went dark and drifted away. Friends and comrades died while Lisa watched. "Admiral," Kevin said urgently, "we're taking heavy damage. Hull breaches on decks 5 and 6. Lisa felt the ship shake as more enemy fire struck home. Through the smoke and sparks on the bridge, she could see that they were running out of time. "All remaining ships kamikaze run on the fortress. We're going to ram that exhaust port." "Admiral," Velkoth said quietly. "That's suicide." Lisa smiled, the same smile that had terrified enemies across the galaxy. "No, old friend, that's victory." The remaining Federation ships accelerated toward Terminus Prime, their crews singing the old songs of Earth as they prepared to die. Lisa's torpedo found its mark just as her ship struck the fortress. In the explosion that followed, enemies spoke her name one last time before dying.